Alright, hopefully the resolution's a little bit better. I'm going to be talking about this guy, Paul, who made a new video on the carnivore diet outcome and does it work. So just to sum it up, it's basically his personal view on the carnivore diet. And I wrote some notes down so I'm not scattered all over the place. Not really going to get into his credentials. I'm not going to talk about anything like that. I'm just going to talk about the content that he has put out. So he basically talks about his main points about talking about the carnivore diet are for the positive effects it has on mood and autoimmune disease. And a lot of his evidence is based on personal anecdotes. So most of you know, if you're a subscriber, you know how I feel about personal anecdotes. They're okay. It's just if you're gonna be someone who is advocating or recommending something and you use mostly personal anecdotes, I'm not gonna take you too seriously. Now, however, there's that part where there isn't a lot of evidence on the carnivore diet, right? I don't know of any studies on anybody just eating pure meat. So, you know, there is that. And he uses a lot of I feel statements, which also worries me. Where I see like, yeah, this guy does have like, I looked at his background. He does have some credentials, yet he's using what a lot of people who don't know a lot about a certain topic use. So he uses a lot of I feel statements, and that's something that a lot of people who don't really necessarily know what they're talking about or know too much about the subject use a lot of I feel statements. And one thing that he talks about is, or one thing that I want to kind of debunk that he mentions in this video is he says that meat doesn't cause inflammation. It's actually very good for things like autoimmune disease, which I think is solely related to inflammation. And he also mentions that fiber is not important for humans. And he says that there's tons of studies. I don't think he, let me see. Yeah, he didn't link any studies on this, on fiber being good, bad for you, or that we don't need it. And for this, I'll reference this video. This lady, I've been following her for a little while. She's got some really good data on certain things, and she's talked a lot about meat in general. And this video I'll link down below. Basically, I'm not gonna play it because I don't want like a copy strike or anything like that. But in this video, she basically talks about how important fiber really is for us and how great it is. I don't think it's necessarily an essential nutrient in the sense that if we don't have it, we'll die, but it is definitely beneficial in a lot of ways for humans to have. And what another thing that was interesting in this is she actually linked some data that showed that some animal products like what was it? I think it was milk and eggs. Some food sources that had certain kinds of fiber in them. I think it was like milk and eggs. Or no, okay, so cheese, any dairy product actually has some cases of fiber in them. Butyrate. Or butyrate, however you pronounce it. And then on the topic of inflammation, so he was wrong about fiber. And on the topic of inflammation, all meat, and you can look this up of the food sources, all meat contains this compound. I think it's some sort of amino acid. And it's been linked to many cases of inflammation. And let me see if I can't think of a study on the top of my head, but I haven't studied that I will link below as well that looked at certain gut gut bacteria that was affected by meat in a negative way. So there's that as well. I'll link both these videos down below, and I'll link the study that she uses here on this compound right here. This I'm pretty sure it's an amino acid or something like that. Um, she has the links here, and I'll link them for you if you guys want to just look at those specifically. Um, Another thing he mentions. Oh, another thing I want to talk about is I don't necessarily blame him. This is something that I see some people do where someone will mention something, like they'll say blueberries are good for you, and then someone makes a video saying, well, I don't know how you missed that blueberries aren't good for you according to this study, right? Like, I don't think that this guy has seen these studies, so I don't necessarily blame him. Um, but I still think that he is sort of advocating for this diet, so he uh, might have a bias to not look into the negative aspects of this diet. He also mentions in this video that he eats about 300 grams of protein and 300 grams of fat. So on protein, I'll just reference this study, this big meta-analysis that showed that there's no point in going over 0.75 grams of protein per pound of body weight for an athlete. This guy's going over 300 grams. Now, I don't think he necessarily said that the protein was better for performance or anything like that. I just think the amount that he's eating is excessive. I don't know if he's doing just to brag and say, oh, look, there's protein in this diet. Come eat it, because that's what a lot of people think. They think that they need a ton of protein. So it might be a way to I don't know, persuade people to go towards the diet because there's so much protein. And I don't know where he's getting the 300 grams of fat. That's really interesting. And I think that's almost kind of dangerous. I think there's a certain amount of fat you really need, and anything above that is pointless. But then again, he's also on a keto, or he's in ketosis. So there's that. Um, he also talks about supplementation. So that's really interesting. This is something that a lot of carnivores just dislike and bash on vegans for, talking about how supplementing is not natural. And he seems to have a couple supplements. I think one of them was iodine. Um, and then he's also supplementing with something. What was it? It was some sort of omega-3 or omega-6. Something like that. I think he was supplementing with fish oil or something like that. Um, so he has all these tags where and it seems like he's kind of advertising for the carnivore community. So that's kind of interesting, and he seems to be getting a pretty positive view. I don't know if these people have negative opinions on supplementation, but that was just interesting because a lot of people. Oh, and collagen. That's right. He also adds collagen into his into a supplement, or he supplements with collagen, and that doesn't seem natural, right? That's kind of the carnivore diet, right? Is to be as natural as possible, I guess. Somewhat. Uh, I could be wrong on that though. There could just be a very select few, or like the popular people on YouTube who are carnivores that advocate for this natural approach. So let's see. Let's go on to the next point. So there's no clear evidence to support his claims, but that could be because he has no evidence to use. So there's no evidence on the carnivore diet for him to reference. But then again, he still uses a lot of, like I said before, a lot of I feel and anecdotal evidence, sort of. He just most of it is just purely personal experience that he's had. Um, like no anecdotal evidence from anyone else. He just kind of talks about how he feels, and I again don't like the idea of just stating that I feel great on this, and that automatically would make you assume that, oh, well, if he feels great on this, then the diet should be fine. Well, I could say the same thing about like multiple different things, right? I could say the same thing about I feel great on steroids. Well, are you going to take steroids now because I feel great on them? No, probably not, because you know that there's negative side effects to them, right? Um, so that's a little annoying. Um, I'm going to compare this to something some people may have heard of, or some people may not have heard of, and it's called this topic of research chemicals, specifically SARMs. So a lot of people who take these SARMs don't know the outcome necessarily. They have an idea of what the outcome is, but they don't know the long-term side effects of these SARMs, right? They have assumptions, they have ideas, but they're not really sure yet. And I want to compare the carnivore diet to this because a lot of the people that would make those videos on SARMs would mostly just talk about how they feel, right? They did some of them would show blood work, but more than not the majority of the people that would make the videos talked about how they feel, and a lot of them sold SARMs too. So that's a real red flag. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit soon. He also mentions that he had some labs done, but he didn't link them, so I can't see anything on that. I'll be looking for them if I can, and maybe make a response to the lab results. But he talked about how he took some gut tests or something like that, but he didn't say anything about it. He just said he took them, and he says all my markers, all my blood markers are perfectly fine. And you know it's really vague. Um, let's get into him promoting the carnivore diet. So from the hashtags that he uses, and the hashtags here, from, I mean, the rest of his videos. Crap, just lost internet. Okay, so I just lost internet. That sucks. But on some of his videos, he would talk about how, or his main topics were on the carnivore diet, and it seems like keto. So let's see if I can go to, oh, here we go. So yeah, so it seems like, yeah, so it seems like he's really into like keto and the carnivore diet. So it would seem like he's almost promoting it. And then if we go to his website, he actually offers certain services. And this seems to be on the uh, topic of, or his services happen to revolve around diet. And he's got some testimonies here, but he's not doing this just to provide information. He has a service. So, in my opinion, just from what I've gathered so far, I kind of think he's just promoting the diet, not necessarily maybe because he likes it, or maybe he tried it and liked it and saw that the carnivore diet is kind of going up in popularity, so he could get these testimony, or he could do these like diet plans with people so he can make more money, which is fine. I understand. Everyone wants to make money. It's just some of the stuff he's promoting uh, could impact people in a negative way, and I don't think that if someone's looking just for money that they're necessarily going to care. And as you can see, just from your just looking at like the views, just, I mean, this is obvious. I've seen the same thing with my videos. If I mention anything about vegan, they get more views. But that's my opinion. I think that, or that's my theory, that he's doing this because it is popular and he sees an opportunity to possibly make some money. Um, and that seems like all the notes I kind of wrote on this guy. So I think I'm going to end the video here. Let me know what you think about my theory if you've gotten this far. I link all this stuff, or all this research that this lady has in her videos Below I'll link her channel as well. I'll also link this guy's channel, and I will also link the meta-analysis on protein if anyone's interested in reading that. So that's the end of this video. I hope the quality of the video is a little bit better. I hope I structured it a little bit better. Hope it was more enjoyable in some sense. Alright, so that's the end of this video. I'll see you guys later.